How's it going, Banger TV fans? Dylan Gowan here, back on the channel. Hope all of you are doing well. So, what have I been up to the last year and a half? Well, I joined the band Seven Spires as their new permanent drummer. We did a ton of shows last year. We did a European run with Skullmold. We opened up for Camelot on select dates. And we recently did a co-headline run in Japan with Lords of the Trident. It was an absolute blast. And right now we're just getting ready to play Legions of Metal Festival in Chicago May 2nd, as well as a ton of festival dates throughout the summer, one including Wacken Open Air. Anyways, that's enough of the shameless self-promotion. Why am I back on the channel? Well, it's because we had the opportunity to interview the legendary Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater. We talked about the 40th anniversary tour, as well as her latest album, Parasomnia. Had a ton of fun. So hope you enjoy the interview. Once again, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do an interview with us. We really, really appreciate it. When it came to also the 40th anniversary tour, in terms of like compiling the set list, I was curious to know, do all of these songs have a different meaning to you now since they were written, or have the meaning behind all of them kind of remained the same?
The meaning is kind of the same. I'm very fortunate that the guys trust me with the set list. It's one of the areas that I've regained control over, and they're more than happy to let me do my thing, which is great. So putting together the set list for this tour was actually easier than you'd think, because back in 2010, we had played every song off of every album hundreds, if not thousands of times, and there was a certain burnout factor at that point. But now, not having played them all for so long, they're all fresh for me. And for the fans, there's fans that haven't seen this lineup play these songs in so long. So it's kind of fresh for everybody in the audience. So it kind of gave me a clean slate to work with. And, having 16 studio albums to work with, especially when the songs tend to be between 10 to 15 to 20 minutes long each, it could be hard to fit them all in. And that's why we have to play a 3-hour show. And that's why we also couldn't represent all 16 albums. So we had to kind of cherry pick the different eras. And the fact of the matter is, I wanted to put a set list together that were fan favorites. And, if you're playing to an arena of 10,000 people and you play Light Fuse and Get Away, you might have 50 people out of that 10,000 that are going to even know what the hell that song is. So I wanted to write a set list that catered more to the masses, being that this is such a big tour for us. I wanted to play the songs that are, wow, dare I say the word, popular, I wanted to go with the popular songs and the ones that people know, and the ones that are going to satisfy an audience of 10,000 people when you're playing an arena, in Poland or whatever. And with that comes a couple deep cuts. The second set gets a little deeper, some songs that we haven't played in a very long time and some very long ones. But for the most part, the set list is all about the fan favorites.
Awesome. And, not only are you promoting the 40th year anniversary of the band, but also you're promoting your brand new record, Parasomnia. Absolutely killer record. I loved all the little subtle hints.
Thank you.
I always like that, where it's a little like kind of like Easter egg hunt, trying to find all the subtle references.
Call me the Easter Bunny. I love planting those Easter eggs. Yeah, that's a big thing for me, for sure.
I was curious to know, when it comes to the writing process of this record, did it feel like it was kind of picking up where you left off?
It really did feel like we were just picking up where we left off. And where we left off was making the Black Clouds and Silver Linings album, which we made in 2008, 2009. So we're talking 15 years. And it felt more like 15 weeks. It really immediately felt so comfortable, like no time had passed. And when you have a writing chemistry as rooted as the five of us have, it doesn't go away with time. I think we've all grown as musicians and writers through all of our experiences all these years. But the process itself was exactly as it was when it left off. But I can only speak for the albums I'm a part of. The process has been the same since day one, since the three of us started at Berkeley when we were teenagers. That's the way we wrote, writing the music first instrumentally, then writing vocal melodies, then writing lyrics, then applying vocals. And that's the way it was from the Majesty demo back in 1986 all the way till Parasomnia almost 40 years later. It's just the way that this band writes, and we really have a built-in chemistry that's just so organic, that's just natural and there forever.
Absolutely. And what I've noticed when listening to this record multiple times, it's a very dark thematic record, but it's also, dare I say, one of the heavier sounding records of your catalog. Since you already have that writing chemistry, that wasn't intentional at all to have it. It just kind of came out that way.
Yeah, I think sometimes people overlook the importance of the metal side to Dream Theater, especially with me in the band. I mean, it's a really important aspect. It always has been. If you look at the very, very first song from the very first album, A Fortune in Lies, I mean, I was playing double bass thrash beats right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And we've always had songs like that, whether it be The Glass Prison or Panic Attack or A Nightmare to Remember. It's been a big part of the band's sound, and to be honest, I think it's a big part of the band's success. There's a lot of prog bands or prog metal bands that are still kind of underground and still play, smaller shows or maybe don't sell as many records because maybe they haven't tapped into the metal side. But the fact that the metal side is such a big, big part of our sound, I think it's what elevates Dream Theater to be the cream of the crop in terms of ticket sales and record sales in the prog universe. I think it's that metal side that does it. The fact that we could play these big metal festivals like Aftershock or Louder Than Life or Hellfest or Grass Pop, the fact that we could pull off gigs like that as a prog metal band speaks a lot for that metal side. And when writing Parasomnia, we just naturally fell into it. Maybe it was the dark subject matter of sleep disorders and nightmares and things like that. Maybe that helped us gravitate towards it. But yeah, I mean, if I had to describe Parasomnia, the album, to somebody, I would say it kind of has the darkness and heaviness of Train of Thought with the cinematic approach of Scenes from a Memory.
It also is reflective of the audience too, how open-minded they are, because you guys have also had super heavy bands open for you, but those same heavy guys who love like even more like extreme side of prog, like Opeth or Between the Buried and Me, or like Protest the Hero, they also just enjoy Dream Theater as much as they love those records.
It says a lot for progressive-minded fans and listeners. If you're a prog fan, you likely are open-minded to lots of different styles because the prog universe has so many different styles. Like you said, it ranges from Opeth to Blood and Incantation, bands like that. So there's a range. I can't be the only person on earth that loves Slayer and Jellyfish. There's obviously other people like me that has this wide range of eclectic taste. So I think, a lot of prog bands like Opeth or Dream Theater for that matter, can appeal to like-minded listeners.
Coming back into Dream Theater, of course, you've been on like with the Winery Dogs and Sons of Apollo and Transatlantic. I was reading in one interview that you were kind of wearing multiple different hats within all these different projects. And I was curious to know like what type of lessons did you learn from those projects that when you went back into Dream Theater that you brought back into the band?
I learned so much. I think it really helped me evolve and mature as not only a drummer but as a bandmate. When I left Dream Theater in 2010, I was a complete control freak. And not only with Dream Theater, any other projects I had back then, whether it be Liquid Tension Experiment or Transatlantic still existed back then when I was in Dream Theater the first time. Even with all those projects, I was very, very controlling and would oversee every single detail and be very, very protective over it. But especially in Dream Theater, I was very, very protective and controlling. And going away from Dream Theater and now being put into all these other circumstances and these different projects and different chemistries, I learned how to wear those different hats. There were some bands that called for a leader. So for like Sons of Apollo, for instance, I was given that position to kind of be the leader of that. But with bands like the Winery Dogs or Flying Colors, those were very collaborative environments where everybody had an equal say and everybody's working together in every department. And then there were other areas where I was a hired gun. I went out and toured with Avenged Sevenfold and along with Twisted Sister, and then did one-off gigs with all these other bands. And in those cases, I'm just a hired gun, to play drums and not have an opinion on anything and just do my job. So, having all of those different experiences helped me evolve, not only as a musician, but as a person. And now bringing it back to Dream Theater, I think the chemistry in Dream Theater now is the best it's ever been as a result of that.
I remember the first time I've seen Dream Theater was actually through the Progressive Nation tour with Opeth and Between the Buried and Me and Three. I'm going to the one in Toronto in a couple days, and like
Awesome.
it's going to be like reliving that moment again, which I'm like
Yeah.
super excited about.
A lot of people throw the word nostalgia around as if it's an insult, but we've embraced it and we're feeling it. You know, we'll be the first to admit that, you know, spoiler alert, but getting up there and opening with Metropolis every night, the same way we did on every single night of the Images and Words tour 30 plus years ago, it gives us goosebumps. And like you said, there's a lot of people that either haven't seen this lineup together in over 15 years, or there's a whole new generation of younger fans that never saw this lineup together. I think it speaks for itself that people are turning out to see this lineup back together again, and it's kind of kickstarted, you know, it reinvigorated the excitement for maybe people that haven't, you know, seen me in all these years or haven't seen Dream Theater in all these years, and that excitement each and every show has been incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, the buzz about it is huge. And when I even see like your setup on stage with like the monster like drum kit that you have, that setup specifically of like you kind of have like the A rig and then the B rig. What would be like the kind of experimental stuff this time around on the other side of like the monsters kit that you brought this time around?
Right. A lot of people see it and they're just like, oh, how the hell is he going to play, you know, 30 drums like that? But yeah, as you mentioned, it's two kits that sit side by side. The B side is more of the experimental stuff, more of the ballad stuff. The Mangini era songs that are in the set, I'm playing on that side just because it gives me a different environment to inspire me. And with the Mangini era stuff, you know, I have the freedom to either play it as exact as I want to or put in my own touches. You know, the band has been very, very cool about that freedom. So given that kind of freedom, I wanted to be on the more experimental side to keep me on my toes and, you know, maybe give me some inspiration to try some new things.
Speaking of the kind of including a few of the Mangini era songs, I was curious to know because you guys are two completely different players. I was just curious to know like how would you approach those type of songs without like not disrespecting that era of the band, but also not abandoning how you would play.
Right. It's nothing new for me. You know, like I mentioned already, I've played with Avenged Sevenfold and Twisted Sister and Stone Sour and Overkill and Fates Warning. You know, I've done all of these hired gun gigs or fill-in gigs where I've had to go in and learn another drummer's parts. So I try to respect them as much as possible, especially in the case of Twisted or Avenged, where I was, brought on board to, you know, kind of fill somebody's shoes. So I look at this the same way. You know, in those cases, I have to kind of take what's there, respect it, and try to bring it to life as close as possible. But at the same time, it needs to feel comfortable to me. You know, there's definitely parts of Mike Mangini's style that is very, very different for me. And I hear a lot of the parts that he's playing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I would have played that. So luckily, the guys have been very cool about giving me the freedom to do whatever I feel would make it comfortable. So I say I play them about 80%, and this goes for not only the Mangini era songs, but pretty much any time I've covered drum parts. I'll be about 80% faithful and then about 20% me. If there's the hardcore Mangini fans that come at me like, oh, he's not playing it note for note. Look, fact of the matter is, I don't even play my own parts note for note. I don't. I've just never been that type of drummer. I've always liked to have a framework that I play within, but, you know, keep it kind of loose within that framework.
When you're looking out into the crowd, like is there a specific song in the set that you just see like the most amount of air drumming, like Phil Collins around the world type of Phil?
There's some moments like that. I mean, you know, those moments are the moments I have to play those fills or those parts. Like
Right,
the
right.
big fill into the final chorus of Pull Me Under. I mean, I have to play that. You know,
Yeah.
there's fills like in Metropolis or Under Glass Moon. You know, all those old songs that people, you know, have been listening to for 30 plus years. You know, it's kind of expected of me to be able to play those parts, and I do. And then there's other parts that I have to adapt to a live situation, either A, because sometimes they don't translate that well if you're playing a big room. Sometimes the big crazy fills just get lost in the shuffle when you're in a big room like that. That's one reason. The second reason also is that I sing pretty much in every song live with the band.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of drum parts I need to kind of readapt to be able to sing and play at the same time. You know, the song like The Dark Eternal Night or Panic Attack, I'm singing all the verses, and those are very, very syncopated verses. So there's situations like that where sometimes I needed to adapt the drum part just a little bit to accommodate me being able to sing and play at the same time.
So prior to the interview, I was watching some of the Drumeo clips that you were doing, and you got revenge on Brandon for making you learn
Yeah.
that whole song. So I'm curious to know, how would you get revenge on Loudwire for making you play on a Hello Kitty drum kit?
That was my first viral video. Really, now, like, I get so many people coming to me about the Drumeo stuff, whether it be the Taylor Swift video or the Tool video. It's crazy. I've said this before, but it's true. I've won, I think, 32 Modern Drummer awards now. I've been on the cover of Modern Drummer like 5 times. But yet, all that aside, it doesn't matter. I'm now like the Hello Kitty guy or the Taylor Swift guy. That's my claim to fame now, no matter what.
We'll wrap it up because I know you gotta get ready for a show in Denver. Obviously, this band has accomplished so much in 40 years. What would be the next thing that you personally would love to see Dream Theater do in the future?
I guess at this point, it comes down to little kind of bucket list, more venues than anything. I think like I have a list of list venues that I still haven't played, like Royal Albert Hall in London. Still haven't played there. Would
Wow.
love to play there. Hollywood Bowl in LA or the LA Forum. This summer, we're going to play at Pompeii, where Pink Floyd played.
Amazing.
So yeah, to be able to play, this hallowed ground where at Pompeii, where Pink Floyd played all those years ago, it's little things like that, little kind of benchmarks like that still keep us really excited and inspired.
That's amazing. Mike, once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. It was absolute blast, and I can't wait for the show in Toronto. It's gonna be really really fun. I'm really
Yeah,
excited to go and see it.
I can't wait either. And I know James is looking forward to it. That's his hometown gig. So see you then, man.
Cheers.
Bye bye.